Hi, I'm Katerina Camprani. I'm an architect and designer, and I make uncomfortable objects.
Everyday objects that you can be sure don't work. Absurd but amusing. Just one of our topics on today's show. Let's see what else we have for you. German designers create fashion inspired by Bauhaus. And houses made of cork are eco-friendly and full in trend. When you take photos of food, you want to get people's mouth watering. But one Spanish photographer is targeting different emotions. And her images make us take a closer look. They're cleverly composed works of art, rich in color and whimsical ideas. Food still plays a key role, but not as you might expect.
Split up the word breakfast, and this is what you might end up with. These images are from Tessa Dóniga's photo series, Break Fast. The Spanish photographer takes foods and ordinary objects and uses them to produce extraordinary pictures.
The three words I'd use to describe my work are singular, particular, and absurd.
Her efforts result in surreal compositions. Like an egg being shot with ammunition, or pancakes cooked with an iron rather than a frying pan. Today, Tessa Dóniga is taking photos to advertise a shopping mall in Madrid. As the campaign's creative director, she's to produce 4 images that will grace posters and appear on social media. Dóniga's photos have little in common with classic food photography.
Okay, sit up straight and show how much you like the shoe and the hot dog. In my pictures, the food usually looks a little out of place, as you've never seen it before. It's been taken out of context and overtly staged. Here we have a model, fashion, and a campaign that deals with food in a playful way.
Tessa discovered her passion for photography and film while she was studying art. In 2015, she founded her own agency. She shoots commercials and produces photo series for magazines. Pastel colors and minimalist composition are her trademarks, and food is her favorite subject. Sometimes eccentric, sometimes provokingly staged. The biggest challenge is to make it look fresh and perfect. While the model is being styled for the second photo, Tessa Dóniga goes in search of a prop for her next shot, a perfectly fried egg. As the photo studio has no cooking facilities, she gets some from a cafe nearby.
The trouble with fried eggs is they dry out fast. Here I can take them with me right after they're fried. I should be able to work with them for an hour maximum. If not, I'll have to come back.
It's all a matter of improvisation.
I have the eggs. With some luck, I won't drop them on the way.
Back at the studio, Tessa gets the fried egg ready for its close-up. Her main focus is on the egg yolk, which she tweaks with surgical precision.
For a photo, the perfect egg is one that shines, has a nice color, and isn't overcooked. Of course, we edit the pictures later, but in general, the glossier and fuller, the better.
Just photographing the sandwich would be too simple. Instead, the yolk is transformed into nail polish because unusual stories are guaranteed to attract attention.
Aesthetically pleasing pictures are a dime a dozen. The internet's full of them. Today, everyone has a smartphone and takes photos. So it's become harder to tell a funny story and set yourself apart from the crowd.
Whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, Tessa Dóniga's photos will leave you hungry for more.
This year, Germany celebrated 100 years of Bauhaus. Walter Gropius founded the world-famous school and gathered together some of the most creative minds of his time. Their ideas had a lasting influence on design and architecture worldwide, even though the school was closed down in 1933. But that didn't stop the ideas from staying alive to this very day. And fashion designers here in Germany also pay tribute to Bauhaus in their collections.
Simple, elegant, modest. That's a good way to describe Anne Gorke's fashion.
My approach is more minimal and uniform, definitely symmetrical. Clean, straight lines, right angles. That's my thing.
The Weimar designer gets her inspiration from Bauhaus principles, such as minimalism and functionality. Her line is called Bauhaus Made, and she's already released 2 collections. But she doesn't see herself as a traditional designer. Her creations are far more the result of cooperating with freelance artists and graphic designers, more like art projects.
Das sind Verkehrsschilder.
These are street signs. Here's a turn arrow, this is a stop sign, and here's a city marker for Weimar. The graphic artists came up with them without my input. I just told them the basic concept, the parts, because it's for a sweatshirt. And then I gave them free rein. I kept pretty much out of it, otherwise it wouldn't be a cooperation.
The sweatshirts were produced in blue, yellow and red, Bauhaus's classic use of primary colours. Anne Gorke lives and works in Weimar, the heart of the Bauhaus movement, which is still present in the city 100 years later. The designer gets her inspiration from her surroundings. For Gorke, Bauhaus isn't just a cultural movement from the past, it's still relevant today.
The world is getting more crowded and more complex for all of us. And I think for some it's easier to be surrounded by things that are more straightforward and clear. It's a kind of return to simple things.
Minimalist design and linear, geometric shapes. The fashion creations by Jennifer Brachmann also follow design principles laid down by the Bauhaus architects. Brachmann's Berlin label brings together her 2 passions, architecture and fashion.
The clarity in the composition, the clear principles and approaches that nevertheless allow for many different variations.
Brachmann takes elements from conventional clothing and combines them in unusual ways. She's a regular at the Pret-a-Porter shows in Paris. Anne Gorke founded her high fashion label in 2012. She regularly designs and presents collections under that name. Her son was born in 2016, prompting the designer to step back from the fashion world. But she began designing clothing which she describes as wearable Bauhaus. She avoids the pressure to present a new collection every season. Instead, her smaller lines appear at irregular intervals.
This is not a trend. It's an essential form language and a certain attitude towards design, in fact to life. It's about doing without excess.
It's a philosophy that starts with the first design right through to the handmade completion. Anne Gorke places importance on eco-friendly methods and sustainable materials, as well as fair work conditions.
I think this is also something that connects to Bauhaus. That you take into consideration the fabrics and printing processes you use. These things are intertwined.
Das sind die Dinge, die dann da ineinander greifen.
Anne Gorke is carrying Bauhaus principles into the 21st century with fashion designs that reflect functionality, minimalism and sustainability.
Design is, of course, a major topic on our YouTube channel. And let's see what else you can find there.
Want to learn more about European lifestyle and culture? Then you've come to the right place. The Euromaxx YouTube channel. Take the plunge into an underwater restaurant. Try out award-winning and flavored cuisine. Join the race at the Straw Bear Festival. The Euromaxx YouTube channel. Subscribe now so you don't miss a thing.
Now let us take a look at a few products that you are guaranteed not to be able to use, ever. Greek designer Katerina Kamprani came up with them. While other designers want to make our lives easier and more beautiful, she swims against the tide. But why does she do that? We went along to find out.
Something's wrong here. How's anyone supposed to water flowers with this can? Or sweep with this broom? How can you take a pot off the stove with both handles on one side? Or eat with this fork? Katerina Kamprani makes everyday objects unusable.
My intention is to make people laugh. But I think there's a second level. I'd like us not to take these things all around us for granted. They were designed according to certain rules. And only when you break these rules do you learn to appreciate them again. So we should always think beyond our own limits.
Katerina works as an architect in Athens. Whenever she has the time, she works on her design project, The Uncomfortable. Her collection has now grown to include over 40 objects. Some of them have been used in advertising campaigns. The off-the-wall concepts have gone viral on the internet. And Katerina is working on more uncomfortable design objects. Here, she takes the ergonomics out of a toothbrush.
What's most important is to pick a suitable object. It has to be something that's easy to use and that we take for granted because we see it every day. Then I think about how I use this object, and I sabotage one aspect of this use. I come up with several different ways to do that, and the one that makes me laugh the most while I'm sketching it out is the one that I develop.
Katerina also gives workshops to teach others how to design unusable things and delights in the many useless ideas with the participants.
After this workshop, I've begun seeing certain objects at home with lots more humour.
It was really entertaining and liberating to be allowed to think in this direction. In daily life, it's not possible, because things are more serious. Normally, everything has to work and be useful.
Katerina has exhibited her designs all around Europe. Her workshops are also small exhibitions of her uncomfortable collection.
This project, The Uncomfortable, came at a time that was very hard for me, or uncomfortable. I wanted to become a designer, but with the economic crisis in Greece, that wasn't easy. So I decided to become an uncomfortable designer. The project was an expression of my situation.
The Uncomfortable project continues as Katerina Kamprani constantly finds new inspiration for unusable ideas.
When you think of the great heroes in the history of mankind, who do you have in mind? Probably a man? But of course, there are some women too. A game developer from Poland wanted to celebrate them and has adapted a classic game to do so. Now girls and young women can use the game to get to know female role models and heroines.
Author J.K. Rowling, artist Frida Kahlo, and tennis ace Serena Williams. In the game Who's She?, they share the board with 25 other women. These include famous and not so well-known figures from the past to the present. Polish designer Zuzia Kozerska-Girard came up with the idea. With the help of a small team, she began developing the game in 2018 at her workshop in Warsaw.
The basic idea of Who's She is to inspire little girls and show them that they can do anything they want with real stories of real women from all the times.
It's a game for 2 players. They ask questions in turn and try to guess which woman their opponent has chosen. The first player to guess correctly wins.
You ask questions about everything, about any information that you can find on the board. So about their accomplishments, about their life, about where they come from, about anything that you can see there. You cannot ask about their looks. So is she blonde or something? It's forbidden.
That rule was important for Zuzia. As a mother, she has found that even her young daughter is often judged solely by her appearance.
I was on the playground with her, and I was like, what's going on here? Because I can see other boys playing, and the other, chit-chat with moms. And moms are like, look how he's quick, how he's agile, how he's making this and making this. I'm like, what's up with this, that we are talking more about the achievements of boys that on girls, we are only about their looks.
She considered the biographies of around 400 women while designing the game. She wanted the final choice to include a variety of cultures, eras, and occupations. A woman from her native Poland made it into the game. Nobel Prize winner Maria Skłodowska-Curie, better known as Marie Curie.
She represents the problems and the difficult path that women can have in science for me. So I think that it's important to know her story in order to see that you can overcome those obstacles.
The watercolor portraits were painted by Daria Govom. The challenge for the Polish artist was to make the women look realistic, not idealized, and immediately recognizable.
It's not just the way the painting will look, but also the expression the woman will have. Because some of them are smiling, some of them show their teeth, some are like in more serious pose. So just deciding which one should look how, which one should look very friendly, which one harder to approach, for example. So that was a part of deciding on how exactly to paint them.
Who's She is available in 6 different languages, including English, German, and Spanish. The board is made of birchwood, but a cheaper cardboard one is also available. The designer hopes to make her game available to as many children as possible, and not just girls.
I think that it's important for boys as well to see women as their heroines as well, because if they don't see them as equal, if boys don't see girls as equal in the competition and everywhere, it won't work.
Zuzia Kozerska-Girard believes that the more strong female role models girls have, the more they'll try to emulate them. Who's She is her way of showing girls they can achieve anything.
Now let's open a bottle. But even though it's the holidays, today we are not so much interested in the bubbly, but the cork that keeps it inside the bottle. Cork is a very versatile material, and now an entire house in England has been built from it. The great thing is, it is 100% natural and totally recyclable.
You can use cork for wine bottles or to build an entire house. This one in Eton, England, is actually made completely of cork, and it's entirely sustainable.
I've always been slightly dissatisfied with things that we typically build with in architecture, especially in housing. So, concrete blocks, cement-based mortar, plastic foam insulation. It's a whole collection of things which end up being quite sort of negative impact on on resource systems.
Matthew Howland and his team experimented for almost 10 years, cutting and interlocking cork blocks until they found the best structural solution. The 1,268 blocks are slotted together without mortar. Gravity alone holds them together, and no additional insulation is needed.
It's slightly warm to the touch. It's got some texture visually in it, and it's got a lovely smell. So it's great for creating a very rich sensory experience in the house.
It does have a smell all of its own, a bit like inside a cigar box. 44 square meters of comfort and security. Modern and archaic at once, rather like in an ancient Mayan temple.
Because there's no linings in the space, you're looking at the raw structure of the building, so you get a very strong sense underneath the pyramids of load, of weight actually coming down towards you and around you, and that's quite a powerful architectural feeling.
Cork has long been used on building facades. This holiday home was built in 2007 in northern Portugal, the habitat of the Cork oak. Time has left its mark on this house. Cork's in tune with the environment, moves and changes colour. That's exactly what Vasco Magalhães likes about it.
As it rained and it's wet here, this one is behaving just as we expected. So this chocolate brown color, it's the color of the reaction to the wetness of the atmosphere. It's very sensual material. It follows the seasons and it changes through the year.
A tribute to Portugal's national pride. It has the world's largest cork oak forest. It's a paradise of biodiversity and a boon to the climate.
Portugal is very privileged because Cork has a unique ecosystem. For each ton of cork, we retain 73 tons of CO2. And it's a tree species that we don't cut, we just peel the bark of the tree.
The trees can be up to 200 years old. The cork can be harvested every 9 years when the bark grows thick enough to be carefully cut. As bottle corks are increasingly replaced by metal and plastic stoppers, the oak is in decline. So the rediscovery of cork as a building material is welcome. Its look is also in line with current trends.
You're not going to put something on the outside of your house if you don't like it. So people first have a visual, an aesthetic satisfaction with the product. It is at the same time a rustic, contemporary visual.
Vasco is a true pioneer in his field. His house introduced many architects to the beauty of cork. Its insulating qualities against noise and cold, resistance to fire and total recyclability. It's a revolution.
It was a boom. From Japan to Canada, widely published. It was a good step for the material.
Now hundreds of constructions using cork have been built. Private homes, doctors' practices, schools. But there has never been a building made exclusively of cork like the house in Eton. Matthew Howland is pleased with the result and has even moved in.
I'm slightly post-project exhaustion at the moment, but it is nice in here. You know, it is a very calm space. I think too much modern architecture perhaps is interested in huge windows and smooth, flat white walls, and I really like in here that there's sort of much more atmospheric feeling.
And given the almost zero carbon footprint, he'll certainly be able to sleep with a clear conscience.
Pretty cool. 2020 will see the 250th birthday of a genius, composer Ludwig van Beethoven. And to mark the occasion, we would like you to send us your version of his composition Für Elise on a musical instrument of your choice. My colleagues have already had a go. As you can hear, it doesn't always have to sound perfect. The main thing is that we can still recognize it. You can upload the video directly to our website, and your entry will take part in our draw to win a trip for two to Beethoven's birthplace, Bonn on the River Rhine. And because I already opened a bottle earlier, I can now raise my glass and wish you a happy new year and all the best for 2020. See you again then. Bye-bye.